So Vauban, the mythical, mystical train boy, is in the midst of his rework, with DE showing off some of the early aspects of those changes, like the Bastille spawning into a vortex, or the aerial strike ability, or the aerial bombardment, or even his army of balls. But once that's been done, we also know that for the longest time they have been saying how Ember was next in line, or that Ember badly needed a rework. Again, this was kind of hinted at by members of DE. They have some ideas apparently for Ember, or how to fix her, or how to change her, and I guess we can expect that maybe after Vauban's. But how do you go about fixing a Warframe that's been, I guess, really mediocre for the longest time, and then made even more so with negative energy drain changes or damage changes that were made because new players complained about her being way too powerful at lower levels? Because basically that's what happened. She nuked lower levels. New players complained because it wasn't enjoyable for them joining those missions. There was nothing left for them to kill, so Ember got hit with the nerf bat. Now her reworks, or her changes, her past changes, simply haven't been very good. And a lot of the player base now believes that she needs a complete overhaul and want her to have, I guess, better survivability, maybe some squad utility, and definitely some damage output as well, which is understandable. Now, I'm not talking about an exalted flamethrower, which, when I say it, kind of sounds cool. Ember's World on Fire ability is a boring one. Let's just get that out of the way. It has caused more issues with Ember and her changes over the last few years than anything else, because they all seem to revolve around it. So maybe now is the perfect time to just simply get rid of it, give her a different ultimate ability. Right now with World on Fire, you turn it on and run around. Damage doesn't scale very well. At the same time, her fireball damage is kind of terrible. Accelerant is somewhat okay, but her other abilities are so weak that they just don't benefit much from it. Weapons like the Ignis will, however. Her third ability is Fire Blast, and this is terrible. It's literally a third. So they need overhauling some of these abilities, or replacing completely, which the ideas of I'll go over in a few seconds. Right now, in-game, Ember's playstyle for most players is to turn on World of Fire, hit Accelerant when you need it, cast Fireball, I guess, if you fancy it from time to time, but not too often because you need that energy for World on Fire. Firequake, I guess, if you like it as well, if you want to use it as well, you could cast it. But with the range reducing over time with World on Fire, it's not what it used to be. Now, a few months ago, Quiet Shy made a video about the dream of an Ember rework, which is linked in the description of this video if you want to go and check it out. And she made some really nice suggestions, like an overheat gauge, the one seen in Vermintide. The higher the gauge, the more damage your Ember would deal. Shy mentioned armor stripping, because let's be honest, Ember is a heat-based frame, and heat melts things, so why not armor? She also mentioned bringing back Overheat, which was a really old Ember ability that was replaced originally by Accelerant. Overheat gave Ember some survivability. It was a defensive mechanic. It gave damage reduction. So imagine giving her a defensive personal shield that reduced incoming damage, but also dealt some kind of damage to anyone who maybe attacked you with a melee weapon. Or it could explode when the shield finally gets broken and sets enemies on fire. Or a shield, I guess, similar to the one that Zane has in Borderlands 3, where shooting through that shield actually would give you a damage increase, maybe even add fire to your bullets. Now, everyone in the Warframe community has their own idea of how they'd like certain Warframes to perform, but also how they'd like to change certain Warframes to better suit, I guess, their playstyles, or what way they'd like to see changes to be added to the game. So how would I go about changing Ember? This is all wishful thinking on my part. She would be powerful. I'm not a developer, so I'm fine with that. So my, I guess, opinion should be taken with a pinch of salt. Ember's new passive could be the heat gauge that Shy spoke about, which in turn ramps up her damage output. The more gauge you have, the more damage you deal. Casting abilities or dealing any type of fire damage will increase that gauge. For her new first ability, why not combine Ember's Fireball and her Fire Blast into a kind of Pyro Blast ability, similar to what you'd have in World of Warcraft, where the Fireball is absolutely huge, and wherever it lands, you leave a burning ring which would be dictated by how much range you have on your Warframe, that deals damage to anything that steps into it, but also increases your heat gauge when you cast it or when Ember stands inside that ring of fire on the ground. So basically standing on anything that deals fire would increase your heat gauge. So basically she would deal more damage. This would allow her passive and her first ability to bounce off one another to scale her damage output upwards. Her second ability could be the return of overheat, or a defensive ability similar to overheat, which gives her some much needed survivability. Again, it could be an Iron Skin styled overheat that explodes once its duration runs out, or once it gets broken, and then it will do a large AoE of fire damage, stunning enemies. Or it could be like Zane from Borderlands, which would increase the damage that your firearms, your weapons actually does. Accelerant could stay as an ability as well, where you coat enemies in accelerant that allows you to deal extra damage to them, but at the same time enemies affected by accelerant have a risk of having their armor stripped off because you are hitting them with a higher level of heat. Now her new fourth ability could be called Meltdown, and it's only activated by using her heat gauge past a certain percentage. This would visually set her on fire, flames coming off your Ember, while also giving her an extra elemental damage type. Meltdown could allow her to go full nuclear and maybe add in some radiation damage, or it could be a vent that gives buffs based on how much of the heat gauge you vent. So 50% would give one buff, 75% could give different buffs, or it could be some kind of fire minion that spawns in and fights beside you, a phoenix or several phoenixes, or it could be an exalted weapon like a flamethrower. You get the idea. Look, your idea is probably better than mine, but I think we can all agree that Ember needs a complete overhaul or a complete rework. Not a, early stage Vauban one that we seen last year where he got those charged balls. She needs some definite love. But feel free to share your Ember rework idea in the comment section below this video. Maybe you want her to be more of a fire warrior styled Warframe or a mage styled one. Let me know in the comment section below. Do me a huge favour, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and as always, thanks very much for watching.